Salutations all. Welcome to this regular scheduled board meeting on Monday, August 28th, 2023. We're going to immediately go to item 1.1, the appointment of Dr. Thompson as the Treasurer Pro Temp, and our roll call. Be it resolved pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.23 that Dr. Stephen Thompson is hereby appointed as the district's Treasurer Pro Temp to perform all of the duties and functions of the district's regular interim treasurer during the period of this meeting. Is there a motion?
I so move to appoint him.
It's been moved by Mr. Perry. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Vice President Autry. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Dr. Hall.
Aye.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we'll move to item 1.2, our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand, we'll be led by our color guard.
Color guards in charge. Carrying colors. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Freeze in arms. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Color guard, post. March.
Thank you all very much. While they're putting away their gear, I'm going to do a quick briefing on what APS got out of sending all of our about 15 of our cadets to camp, and then they're going to come in and they're going to tell you what they got out of it. So the first thing I have is a quick 1-minute video that kind of summarizes what camp was for them, so you kind of have a picture.
Left, right, forward, march.
Go, guys, go.
Come on, right. Find some strength, right. Come on. Go.
As you can tell, they haven't all seen all these photos and videos yet. So. Okay, so that's kind of a summary of what a week at Leadership Camp was for them. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, first of all, I want to tell you on behalf of Air Force Junior ROTC, we're so incredibly grateful. The school board funded $6,000 towards all of our cadets to go to camp this year. This is the first time that we've had this kind of funding. In the past, in order for the cadets to go to camp, they either had to fundraise for the money to go. It's about $100 a cadet to go to camp, or we sometimes were able to take a little bit out of our ROTC budget, but we just honestly do not get that kind of money. So the fact that the APS funded $15,000 and then the Air Force funded about $6,000. So they went up to Camp Perry. They went up June 5th through 9th. They stayed in the barracks there on Camp Perry. The Air Force part of the funding paid for the instructor equipment, an EMT, and Air Force staff that came in. They're not teachers. They came in to help with some of the early guidance and mentorship, getting them kind of immersed in that first day. And then APS funds, $15,000 paid for all of their meals and snacks, all of their uniforms, to include, we got them each a shirt that looks like this, which helped them tremendously, paid for the transportation, paid for them to go to Cedar Point as their reward at the end of the week. And then it also funded extended time for the chaperones, which was a huge help. We took myself and Sergeant DeSaro plus 2 chaperones. So the success stories from them going to camp, the big thing was no out-of-pocket expenses for the parents. In the past, we've only been able to take usually less than 6 cadets because it was very cost prohibitive. At over $100 per cadet, either they had to fundraise, we had to hope that parents were able to fund some of it, and that didn't include the fact that APS paid for things like duffel bags, because some of the cadets in the past have shown up literally with their stuff in trash bags because they didn't have bags to put their things in. So we had duffel bags, we had garment bags that kept their uniforms nice. We were able to bring an intervention specialist with us, which allowed us to open up cadet participation to some of our special needs students, and they benefited tremendously for that. I am so grateful for our intervention specialist that came along. We also had a chaperone who has prior military experience. She was able to come. She was able to kind of be a little bit of a buffer when some of the cadets were struggling a little bit. They didn't want to go home. They just needed somebody to give them a little bit of moral support for a little bit. But what that really did with all of that funding, with the duffel bags, they were given, each of them was given a blanket, garment bags, the shirts. It was a shorter on-ramp to building a cohesive team. We brought our 17 cadets, and we had to mix in with 6 other schools. And us being able to show up all in the same uniform, all carrying duffel bags instead of trash bags. We were on coach buses, which made them feel special, and it helped tremendously. It gave them a good start for their first day of camp. And then, of course, a device-free week, and we know how important that is. I felt like I saw some personalities that I hadn't seen before, and I was really glad for that. We had no behavior problems, and nobody dropped out. And then all of the cadets who went to camp returned at the beginning of the school year. So we get the benefit of what they learned. They're able to bring that back, and now they're teaching the freshmen who have just come into the program. So we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to take those kids. So the format, I'll brief this, and then I'm going to turn it over to our cadets so they can tell you what they learned as I flip through some slides. What happens is they come in on day 1, we leave on Monday morning, we go up to Camp Perry. And it's kind of an initial norms and standards. They sort of get dropped into an environment they're not very familiar with, so they all have to kind of storm and form together. That happens very, very quickly because we have them 24 hours a day. We did some health and athletics, which was a good opportunity for them to kind of burn off a little steam and also, again, build that cohesiveness. And then we did a confidence course. They learned some problem solving. They learned to be team players, which is the very most important thing that we feel like we teach them in ROTC. And then, of course, they were also able to step up and start being leaders as well. Leadership development, we did do some basic military skills. They spent one day where they learned how to do a shelter and build a fire in an emergency and that type of thing. We did marksmanship. But really what they got out of it was that teamwork and that citizenship cultivation. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to all 4 of my cadets that came tonight went to leadership school, leadership camp. They're all returning cadets. All of them are at least second year, and 2 of them are third year. While you guys are talking, I'll just continue to flip through the slides. So I'm going to turn it over to Cadet Battle to start with.
Hi, I'm Cadet Battle. I'm a staff sergeant. This is my 2nd year in the program. Camp taught me unity and get out of my shell. I'm a very closed off person. In the camp, you cannot be closed off because it's a team. Everything's a team group. Everything. So I learned to get out of my shell more. And yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Hi, I am cadet, senior Master Sergeant Hatton, and this is my 3rd year in the program. It's weird because like I was very mixed about camp. I didn't know if I want to go, and when we got there, the introduction was not what I expected. But I think I learned some leadership in that, and the way of expressing ideas for some things that just don't go right because some people learn in such different ways. So I think really really learning other people's experiences and stuff was really I liked it. So yeah.
Hello, I am Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Woods. This is my 3rd year in ROTC. Was not expecting this, to be honest, to be my 3rd year, but it's really a good thing. But camp was really an experience. The first day, I was not expecting all the yelling and getting my name.
They got kind of a basic training immersion, basic training light.
You have to really get used to it, and it really gets annoying when you hear your name get called like 5,000 times. but it was actually pretty fun. You had to get really used to it. As a leadership cadet, it was a challenge, but it was a good experience for me and all the other cadets.
I'm Cadet Campbell. I'm a staff sergeant. I'm a 2nd year cadet. I was not planning on staying in the program, but going to camp made me realize how much of a team we all can be together.
Good.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to the board members if you have any questions.
Questions from the board? Vice President Autry.
Thank you, and congratulations for going through this. So whoever might want to respond to this question, how was it going this entire time without your devices? Does anybody want to comment?
From my point of view, it was amazing.
We're all going to have different opinions. For me, I didn't care. I'm not a phone person. I have no social media. Only thing I miss my music. That's all I wanted.
I think it's the same for me. I really miss the music, but honestly, being away from the phone, I think really kind of put things in perspective for me. So,
for me, I was low-key mad at first, but I really get bored being on my phone. It's really nothing to do on it. So it was actually an experience without me on your phone. So, kind of got to get used to it.
I feel like without my phone, I bettered myself throughout camp because I'm on my phone a lot, so it's better not being on it.
Yeah, I like to hear that. Other questions, comments from the board?
No question, just a comment. I mean, you guys always coming in and do a great job, and I just want to say, it's very commendable. I always like seeing the pictures and videos of what you're doing, and it looks like the camp was a good experience for all of you. So congratulations to you, and keep up the good work. You're making us proud, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Other comments, thoughts? So I was going to say, so Dr. Thompson is a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I'm a current senior captain in the Army. And so when you talked about all the yelling being yelled at, we both kind of exchanged a chuckle because we know what that's like going through that experience. So my question, having said all that, is, are any of you considering joining the Army after high school, or you all?
It's a consideration.
Okay, consideration.
She's looking at going Special Forces.
Special Forces,
so.
okay, roger that, okay.
It's more of a last choice for me.
I agree with him. It's really the last option for me.
I plan on enlisting straight out of high school into the Air Force.
The Air Force, okay.
So what they're saying is stand down.
Stand down. So I did have one more question I want to ask. So most of you have been in this program. All four of you have done more than a year. As we think about how we would expand this kind of program and try to get more students to be to want to be engaged in this kind of experience, what kind of thoughts, and all of you could take a turn to answer this question if you like, but I'd be interested, what could we do to make programs like this more attractive to your colleagues in high school?
I feel like the students think it's like a serious thing, and it is, but it's also a fun thing. Like, it's a learning curve. It's a way to expand yourself in every meaning. Like, you're going to learn leadership, you're going to learn communication. Like, you get to, like, I'm here with board members. Like, it's like also to expand yourself, like to get like recommendations, because like all of y'all know me now, so that can help me. Like, I can ask y'all for a favor, because I done seen all of y'all. This is my second time seeing y'all, and I'm pretty sure it will not be the last.
I feel like really it could take time, but really to explain things thoroughly to people, really try to give people the idea what it might be to actually be able to do something that might be out of your comfort zone, because it was an experience like that for me. I never thought I would be doing stuff like this before, ever. So honestly, really, I think just for to let people get more involved and do something more if they're not doing something, and so they can make high school meaningful.
Good, wave. Just wave your hand in front of that. Yeah.
Open the windows. Open this garage.
Go ahead, Wojciech. I think the mics are still on.
To be honest, some kids think that like once you join ROTC, they think, oh, you're going to do like you're going to hear like a lot of yelling at them. They going to think you're going to join the military after. It's really not like that. You might get like that experience, but you will. You gotta get used to it. I try to get used to it, but it's still getting on to me. But to be honest, it's really like fun once you like get more into the program, get to know other cadets, get to know your instructors. Basically, yeah.
It's more of what she said, when you adapt to the program and who you're doing the program with, and like your instructors, they can lead you through so you want to stay, and all the work that you do, and they can see how you work throughout with friends.
Any other comments or thoughts? Ms. Jackson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for just being yourselves and being willing to stretch yourself by participating in such a program. I am, as Mr. Perry said, I'm very proud of you all. A few of you I know, and I can see the growth, and I know that you are leaders. So great things are happening with you, and I expect great things in the future. Additionally, when Mr. Hall had asked, what can we do to expand such programming? How do you see yourselves in the mix of things as far as recruiting friends that you believe could benefit for such a program? You know, Army has real recruiters that may come into your school. Do you see yourself like as student ambassadors for the program, where you can tell other classmates that you think this would really benefit to join and become a part of? And have you done that?
Yes, I always promote ROTC because it's like a family, and it's like once you become a certain rank, you get to teach other ranks. Because once you become like a senior, you basically become like a commander. Like, you help teach people. So it's like basically every day, because marksman is my favorite thing to do. So I always try to promote marksman. I'm the marksman captain. And I'm also school ambassador, student council, and scholar voice. So I have a lot of voice to promote ROTC.
I feel that question is kind of, it really kind of made me think a lot. I think it really could be a lot useful to really just travel to other classes and stuff, especially to like younger, like freshmen and sophomores, to really, you know, showcase what can be done, what is there, and what they can do. And I find that very important, so.
I think showing them like leadership is like the best option, because I feel like they'll like to adapt more into the program, especially like teaching other cadets what leadership is about. Like me, I am an advisor. I like to give people other advice to tell them what you should do, and it's really good.
Honestly, I would say going around to like middle schoolers and talking to them about like how much we work together and how much there is in the program that you can sign up for and work on with other cadets.
And I think really to just put it all together, we're just one big family. And I think that is what I love the most about it.
We do argue sometimes. We do argue sometimes, but we do get along. And yeah, like you said, we are a big, happy family, and we love all our cadets.
We could be more open. All to see is like it's a family. It's a very tight family. So I think we're all strict. Like we could show like we're more open. Like we do a lot of stuff. But people think like it's so serious. It's serious, but it's also fun times as well. They don't see the fun side.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Any additional questions, comments? All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. All these people here? Yeah. So just continue to be amazed at how poised our young people are. I know that when I was in high school, I could never have gotten up in front of a crowd that looked like this and spoke with such eloquence. So again, I wanted to just acknowledge that as well. The military does a great job of preparing our young people for life. So next we're going to proceed to community and school reflections. Members of the board, do you have any community and or school reflections? Dr. Marnar.
I don't want to go after that, but somebody has to. I have 3 main reflections and events that I visited and really got to see a lot of great highlights from our students and our teachers and our community. So I was happy to see we had an APS tent at Saturday's Pride Festival, and I got a bag with hiring information and earbuds, which was so helpful. Got to check that off my school supply list. But I was also excited to see in the children's area, Firestone Theater had a whole area with face painting and frisbees and stuff. So thanks to all the teachers and the parents who came out to help support our students for that. Also on Wednesday last week, I'm going backwards a little bit, visited Firestone's open house. And so I wanted to give a thank you to Mr. Donatelli and Mrs. Lowry. I think I actually saw you here somewhere. But thank you for all of your help. I needed a lot of help. And so thank you also to the counselors, Mr. Sandy and Ms. Hurd, and the student ambassador tour guides. And also, I went to Resnick Open House on the 24th. I saw the PTA table, Mrs. Angelo's helping, and also a shout out to Monsieur Starr, who is our French teacher / I don't think this is an official title, but lead traffic conductor. Is that fair? So I've been both at Resnick and Firestone all 3 days of school so far. Today was our first day for our kindergartners, and I want to say I know drop-off and pickup can be an experience for everyone, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who is involved in this. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to our community partners who sent out reminders. I saw all over social media reminders the first day of school is coming. There was one round of traffic lights that I sat there for 3 cycles before I moved at all, and nobody honked at me. Nobody. So thank you to the community. I hope we can keep that patience up as we improve our systems and we do that. But I did see multifamily pickup is using technology this year. They were texting to get everyone in. So maybe we can spread the use of technology to other buildings and increase that efficiency. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Marnar. Are there other community and or school reflections? Mr. Alexander?
Yes, I also did get a chance to go to Case Elementary Open School and open house, rather, I'm sorry, for all the students and the parents. And it was kind of exciting. The kids came in happy and excited. The teachers were there excited. Principals there to greet you. I mean, there were community members that were there to be be part and walk around the school. And I thought it was really nice, open, and pleasant environment especially for those kids who are kindergartners who are just coming in or pre-K. And I thought that was very good. So I want to thank them for having a nice open house. Also, Dr. Molnar and I thought she was going to state this here, but we went to the market on North Hill. It was really nice. I'd been to markets before here in Akron and abroad, but it was nice to go up there to see all the fruits and vegetables they had. It was really nice. And of course, I was looking for some green tomatoes, and I found some at the end, and I bought about a dozen of them because I wanted some fried green tomatoes. And so I was able to get my fried green tomatoes, but also let some of them ripe. And I got some cantaloupe, which was really good. I wish I'd have got 2 or 3. But I plan on going back. I think it's this Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, at 4 p.m. And you can go up there, and it's a lot of good stuff up there. So I'm going to have to get there a little early this time because I missed a few things that I wanted to get last week. But I'll get there and get them this week. So shout out to those individuals up there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Are there other reflections? Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to reflect on the convocation that many of us attended, and I think what I liked most about that was the energy. And every teacher and cluster that I went past, they had a very positive spirit, as if they were excited to get back into the schools and do what they do best. I also want to shout out to the young man, Kofi, who was a speaker, and I believe he's from North Akron, but he said he was all over the district. I know North is where he was from, but he went to STEM High. He talked about a middle school too. Did he go to Jennings? Jennings Middle School. And Akron Early College, thank you so much. Thank you. Akron Early College and Jennings Middle School. And the reason why I want to reflect on that, because teachers pour into students as well as families, and that is what is produced. So sometimes things can be happening in neighborhoods, and he talked about things and circumstances in his past. But when you see the fruit of such a young man that is from Akron Public Schools, that is from the city of Akron, it does us all proud. And I'm extra excited because as we go through the district, as I visit schools, as I talk to the students throughout all the clusters, entrepreneurs, athletes, visionaries, thinkers, I see what they can be. And I'm excited when teachers are excited. When you see teachers who don't know you and they're smiling and they're greeting you just because that's who they are. I just think we're in a great place to do great things, and I'm excited what this year is going to bring forth. So,
thank you, Ms. Jackson. Appreciate that. Vice President Autry.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so just piggybacking on your comments, the convocation was wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Chapman and committee for putting that all together. Really great energy, and welcome back to everybody. And so I had the opportunity to visit Schumacher and Buchtel Middle School on their opening day. One of my favorite parts is just seeing the relationships that are already existing. So many students and teachers, oh, you've gotten so big, you've gotten so tall, and all the hugs and all the great energy. So that's just always a great thing to see. And as Ms. Jackson just said, I'm looking forward to a really great year. Also, since we last met, I had the opportunity to visit the I Promise School for the first time of my time here on the board, and it was a really great experience. I was welcomed well. Principal Davis greets all 17 buses that unload there, and I just thought that was remarkable, and I know that's something that she brought that was new, that's trauma informed. So that was great. The bus driver, one of them, Mrs. Hearns, got off, and she was just so grateful to have that and how it has affected the behavior of the students on the bus. Just looking forward to that and knowing that their principal is there waiting when they get off the bus. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Also, while I was there, I had the opportunity to visit the I Promise Circle. It was fourth graders of Mrs. Matlock and Miss Bonacci. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And so I got to sit in. They had a little quiet, low lighting experience where they just kind of went around and talked about what zone they were in and kind of made a promise moving forward for that day. And it was just, they played a song that was relevant as well, and it just kind of set the tone, and I think more places need to incorporate that. So it was a great experience to have. And again, just thank you for all of that. One other thing that I learned that they do over at the I Promise School, they don't have bells. And so it just kind of sets a certain tone as well. Because you hear a bell, you think race, right? Kids are running through the hall, but without that bell, things are a little bit more calm in that transition. You know, you can't, tell a student, hurry up and get to class. They can't say, oh, the bell hasn't rung yet, because guess what? There's no bell. And so it just, I just thought it was a really good tool in case anybody else is listening who wants to try something different. And it's free. And so, so I just wanted to share that. And also, I just wanted to lastly thank all of the different organizations, the barbers, the beauticians who support our students in coming back with book bags and haircuts, hairdos, anything that these students need. We have a great community who puts their arms around our scholars, so thanks to all of those folks. And I'm going to encourage them to stay engaged, because we need you throughout the entire year. And so get a hold of your local COC and find out what those principals need so that you can get involved and support them and join those PTAs and parent groups. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Are there other community and/or school reflections? Okay, I'll jump in. So let me begin by echoing Ms. Jackson's comments about the convocation. I thought Kofi was an amazing, energizing. I could feel the spirit moving in that room when that young man was talking. He talked about how folks know your story. Know your glory, but don't know your story. And so we were all on the edge of our seats listening to that young, talented product of the Akron Public Schools speak. So again, I want to shout out to him as well. The other thing I'll say about it as well is in the room that day, and this is why I hope that now that we're past COVID, we can resume doing those convocations yearly, because there was a sense of unity in that room that I can't say I felt in the past. When you have 4,000 people in a room and we're all aligned around one purpose, and that's our kids. It's one. It's easy for us to have slogans and whatnot. We like to say one band, one sound, one APS. But when you get into a room full of 4,000 people whose purpose, professional and purpose in life, is to take care of and create young people that will be productive members of our communities. It was really an awe-inspiring experience. So, and I know Dr. Chapman took the lead and did a ton of that work. So I do want to give a round of applause to Dr. Chapman for leading that. We appreciate you. So secondly, I too was visiting schools as well. So I had a chance to go to North, hit Resnick as well. I got to see the traffic situation at Resnick. That is no joke. People were honking when I was there, so they were better behaved when you were there, I guess. And I had a chance to walk through North as well, which is where I went to high school, and had some teachers show me some of the areas of the building that are areas of opportunity from a design and a standpoint. So obviously more work to be done in that building. And then last but not least, I too had a chance to go to the I Promise School last week. Spent several hours there. Had a nice conversation with the principal, Miss Davis, and then spent the bulk of my time there at lunchtime, just talking to kids. And I asked them questions like, tell me, what's your favorite subject? Tell me, what do you like best about this school? Who's your favorite teacher? And the responses I got to what do you like best about this school were responses that that really had me emotional before I left, right? A lot of the kids talked about, it's a place where they feel like everyone there is there for them, and some of the kids said that they didn't necessarily always feel that way at some of the other schools they attended in APS, which is something that we've got to work on. And so culture and environment are really important. And so I know as the teachers in that building, even the custodians, I think Mr. Bob, I think is who the custodian is. It Mr. Bob? Can somebody just, yeah, there we go. Mr. Bob's kids actually serve in the military too, so thanked him for his service. But even Mr. Bob came over and we were having a robust conversation about his interactions with the kids, and he's quite the character. Mr. Bob is quite the character. Very likable gentleman, and but the kids, right? I mean, it was really key. And I'd been to I Promise School before, but had been a couple years. But it was a nice reminder. I know people talk about schools are more than metrics. And while I'd say that all schools should be more than metrics, you really see it exemplified in the I Promise School. So I want to appreciate the staff and teachers there, right? Even inclusive of Mr. Bob, who has his part to play as well. And all the kids know who he is, and a lot of them stop to talk to him as they walk by. So it's just nice to see the level of inclusivity there. Speaking of Miss Davis, though, she had and I don't know if this is a unique trick or not, but she was using this voice level 1, voice level 2, voice level 3, voice level 4, and Vice President Watson, you were talking at a voice level 5. Can we talk at a voice level 1? And she will walk these kids back down it was like in choir, they walk you back down to the bars, right? 8, 7, 6, 5. It was hypnotic. And I was thinking, like, when she said that, I was like, this is not going to work. And it was working though. I mean, so all these kids were kind of bought in. It was like group hypnosis. So again, I wanted to recognize that was a really neat trick that she had. But again, it's a trick that doesn't work without engagement, right? So that concludes my commentary for community and/or school reflections. And next we'll move to request to address the board. So we have a number of people signed up tonight. My apologies, we're not going to get to everybody, but I'll get to as many of you as we can fit in this evening. Insofar as your comments echo somebody else's comments, we ask to get more people in. We ask that you can say what she said or what he said, right? So as to create more room for folks that maybe have a greater variety of things to say. And before we get to it, so a couple of things. So I know at the last board meeting you heard me say that we were doing part 2 of our I Promise presentation tonight. Unfortunately, illness has struck the ranks of our senior staff, and so that's not ready to go tonight. So we are having to move that to the next board meeting, and just wishing a speedy recovery to those on senior staff who are working on that presentation. Secondly, and there'll be a timer up here. Secondly, again, to get more folks in, you are limited to 3 minutes in time. The least favorite part of my job is having to cut somebody off at 3 minutes. So again, the timers are up there. We're going to ask you to respect those 3 minute that 3 minute timer. Also, as well, I know many of you are here to advocate on behalf of the I Promise community and village and schools. And there are children here that are listening to the things that you say. So please, as you're communicating and sharing your thoughts, please keep in mind that there are young people here that we always want to serve as an example for, in how we engage in public, rational discourse. So insofar as we don't get to everybody, there are future meetings. So we are meeting again in 2 weeks. And so if you talked last time, I'm probably not going to get to you tonight. If you talk tonight, I probably won't get to you next time if there's too many people. If there's not, then you talk as much as you want at each, at every board meeting. The other thing I want to say too is, as kind of the last comment, is that we have many schools that are going to be coming before the board in the coming months. So the I Promise School is just the first one to go. So, and I hope that we have a similar audience size when we get to the other schools in this district and talk about their performance and what's going on at those schools. So appreciate the level of engagement. I see all the We Are Family shirts that are out there. and I hope that we have the similar level of engagement we're talking about when we're talking about other schools and their performance in areas of opportunity as well. So having said that, that concludes my lengthy preamble. So before we get to the first person, we'll go to the thing I have to read. Number one, so participants will not be permitted to speak on matters related to vendors, business matters, formal complaints, grievances, specific students or student records, personnel matters, and potential or pending legal matters. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The board will not respond, but will assign through the superintendent the appropriate person for follow-up. Having said that, can we go to the first person I got on the list? We'll go to Victoria McGee. If you'd like to step to the microphone, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right. My minutes haven't started, have they?
No, it's right there.
All right.
Right there.
Okay, they started?
It just started.
Okay, good evening. I am Victoria McGee, a resident of Akron for over 3 decades with strong community roots. I am also the proud senior director for the LeBron James Family Foundation and one of the founding staff for the I Promise School Family Resource Center. Let me remind you, the LeBron James Family Foundation has never proclaimed to be the academic experts. Consistent with our mission, we have relied on our partners at Akron Public School to navigate the education side of the house as the subject matter experts. I have seen I Promise at its very best and also uncertainty and challenging times. It is reckless and shameless for the leaders that took an oath to protect and serve our students, educators, and community to personally target and intentionally attack the I Promise School regarding state standardized tests. It is also irresponsible and careless, to say the least, to look solely at state standardized tests and no other assessments that show academic growth. As we all know, tests alone does not demonstrate individual gains of critical social improvements of students and families. The data presentation approved by the Akron School Board and supported by AEA has further marginalized already disadvantaged students. Yes, further marginalized already disadvantaged students. To ostracize students, to belittle them to their peers, family, and community is reckless and unacceptable. Furthermore, your actions degraded every Akron public school educator that has ever taught the current and past I Promise School student that you have singled out locally and nationally. Absolutely, it was hurtful for the LeBron James Family Foundation, but more importantly, detrimental to our students, the things that they said and the way that they had to feel. And our educators, our students, you took an oath to protect and serve. It is also worth noting Akron Public School is struggling academically as a district and has been for a very long time. All of Akron schools and students and educators and family deserve the respect, protection, and support. It is my hope that around the table we can come together as partners and end the toxicity, the callousness, and the negative narrative created about the I Promise School. It is not fair to the student, and it is not fair to the educator. And it appears to me that it is a collusion with personal and political motive. The action surrounding the data presentation validates power orientation, power authority, and quite frankly, bullying. This is unwarranted and must be stopped. The LeBron James Family Foundation, we remain committed to the important work for the long haul and has long recognized that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, baby. It's a marathon, okay? Okay, this is a marathon.
Thank you.
It is a marathon. And the one thing I'll say last, it's a marathon because students are more than test scores, Mr. Derrick.
Thank you. Again, as a reminder, we do have students in the audience. So again, my ask is that as you're making your comments to the board, again, remember there are students watching. There are students here in the audience. So we teach our students Part of being in leadership is teaching our students to be appropriate and respectful with authority. Okay, that's our teachers, that's this board, that's our senior staff, that's those of you that are in the audience. So again, I'm going to ask you to please keep that in mind as we move forward here. Next, we have Nikita Ricks. Sarah Nikita Ricks. Okay, next we'll move to Shane, is it Dante?
Dance, you're on the agenda to speak, but the lady at the desk told me I should just put my name on there just in case. Anyway, so.
Okay.
Red flag, I'm on the
Roger that, okay, gotcha. All right, next we've got Danielle Love.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I stand here as a proud Akron Public School graduate, as a lot of us in this room are. I'm very proud, but I'm very sad. I speak not from affiliation, not from family or employment. I come with these concerns from my heart, from a community that served me, that helped me to be the community leader that I feel that I am, that I know that I have proved to be, as many of you in the room can attest to. We need our community, and that's what LeBron and the school and other schools need to have the same resources and commitments to their children as they do at the school. That's one thing that I love about it, because I needed that. I had no parents around most of my years, and I needed my community to help me to stand up to be the woman that I am today. A lot of us deal with self-esteem coming from our community, so that's an issue. So I'm speaking from the heart, not from anywhere else. So when these kids read these comments in the newspaper, it hits their self-esteem, because they come to them, hey, you go to I Promise School? Oh, they said y'all dumb in the paper. So now it hits these kids' self-esteem, and they come to me as a community leader, and I hear those things, so they're hurtful. So, and these self-esteems come from various resources. I don't understand why are our children, our students, being exploited. Why is this not an issue that we keep out of the paper so that these kids aren't being or feeling exploited? That's one of my questions. And also, if we have to bring these things up, then why are these things, to me, we all come from the same tree. We all grow from the same apples. Therefore, I know that we have failing districts in the Akron Public Schools. So through my eyes, not knowing everything, this is what I'm seeing right now, the last couple of weeks. Why are IPS apples being exposed and not everybody else? It should all be on one playing field. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Doug Petkovic.
Thank you very much. My name's Doug Petkovic. I am a restaurant owner in Northeast Ohio. I consult for the LeBron James Family Foundation at House 330. I started working there with them about 2.5 years ago, and they have opened my eyes to many things. I don't know about education. I don't know about the job that you guys do. I don't know about the job that is being done at I Promise. But I can tell you this. In my world, I've never seen an organization and people that care more for the people that they take care of than this organization. It's pretty special. So many of the families from I Promise work at House 330. Many of the kids have been there often. I see the progression. They have opened my eyes. I do believe. And I'm hopeful that as this school board goes through this process, I realize you have a job to do. And your job is to look at all the schools in Akron. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? You see this group here, and they're here for a reason. Most of them are not here to say you guys have done a great job. They're upset, they're mad. And the president spoke about things that are coming out about other schools that you'll be reviewing and things like that. However, I do hope this. I hope that you don't do to those schools what you did to the kids that I see and take care of at the LeBron James Family Foundation. You will not find better people than these people sitting behind me, and Michelle Campbell especially, who cares about these kids. I see them cry about these kids. I see them have meetings about these kids, about the families. And we can't save everybody, right? Not everybody in this room can save everybody, but these people try. So I hope you think through this about what happened to those kids and how they felt after you guys doing your job, that you work hard to do it better for the next kids. Okay?
Thank you. Next we have Annette Richardson.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, distinguished member of the board, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Annette Richardson, and I'm the former senior advisor for partnership at the UN. I worked under Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and I was also an advisor to the head of UN Women and the head of Sustainable Energy for All. I spent over a decade, facilitating collaborations and partnerships, meaningful public-private partnerships between the United Nations and various stakeholders to advance global development grand challenges. I've just flown in from New York to spend this moment with you in the midst of preparing for the UN General Assembly in late September. I'm a product of public school as well, and I believe in the sort of partnership and the model that you've created. As an advisor to the LeBron James Family Foundation for the past 4 years, I stand before you today to share a little bit of my expertise and provide some insights on the complex dynamics of public-private partnerships and the reason why I advocate for such a model of philanthropic investments. I've witnessed hundreds of PPPs initiatives, which failed as a result of conflicting interest, mismatched goals, inadequate risk-sharing mechanism, financial distress, and the eventual abandonment of the project. At the heart of this matter lies the passionate, and I think you've heard a lot of passion here today, passionate commitment of both parties and to the betterment of a public education system. The LeBron James Family Foundation aims to uplift young minds and the families from low-income and disadvantaged backgrounds. Their dedication is worthy of admiration as they strive to create opportunities and empower your community's most vulnerable students. And I'm glad you witnessed some of those students and the work that is being done at the school this past 2 weeks. Akron Public Schools does prioritize public welfare, but LeBron James Family Foundation as well. They work with you. They are a partner with you in public welfare. The partnership between the LeBron James Family Foundation and Akron Public School, my time up, is of utmost importance as it fosters a strong element of community empowerment, educational excellence, and social empowerment. And I can assure you that I've traveled through there's about 193 countries in the world. I probably saw 100. And there is no model that I've seen as successful as this one.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. I appreciate your time. Thank you. You're on time.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, I've got Aisha Cotton.
Greetings to the Akron School Board, district officials, and to the community. My name is Aisha Cotton, and I serve as the managing attorney in our I Promise Family Resource Center. While the individualized inquiry of our students have been categorized and concealed as many things, the issue of control is evident. The hope and mission of the LeBron James Family Foundation is to provide wraparound support and love to change the trajectory of kid, family, and community. While there are many hands involved in the running of the I Promise School, our goal is to collaborate with each with an aligned mission in mind. Please do not construe our mission and responsibility to protect and advocate for our families as a need to control. That is never our intention. However, we will stand up to protect our students, families, and communities from individuals who feel the need to control impacts their ability to remain impartial, fair, and a dedication to the mission that we all share. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I've got Jeanette Brown. Is there a Jeanette Brown?
She's coming.
Oh, okay. All right.
My name is Jeanette Brown, and I have a son who is a student at I Promise. He started at I Promise in a shell. He was quiet, withdrawn. He has since become a leader for his peers. He is an honor roll student. He advocates for other peers. And when you guys opened up today, you said that the camp gave kids moral support. You said that there was leadership development. You said that teachers pour into students. And the motto for APS is no child left behind. The picture that I see when I see no child left behind, I see someone reaching back to get someone. What I saw here and heard here when they said that there was an inequity to the community for the I Promise students, that there was an inequity of the wraparound service that they received. I see where you said no child left behind. I saw a child being pushed back behind.
Okay. Next, we'll go with Patty Burden.
Good evening. My name is Patty Burden. Along with many of us here, my family has a long history as residents of the city of Akron. In fact, my grandfather and his father before him grew up in what was once known as Kenmore, Ohio, which, as you know, is presently a neighborhood of Akron. My 4 siblings and I were raised in Akron. We didn't have much, but like children from other families, we didn't need much. We lived in a solid city with a solid school system. Since the 1800s, generations of proud Akron Public School alumni have celebrated the memories and camaraderie of lifelong friendships that originated in the hallways and classrooms of their beloved alma maters. My husband and I remained residents of Akron and have contributed to the city schools for nearly 60 years. Unfortunately, we have also witnessed the slow deterioration of many of Akron's neighborhoods and school districts. While an immeasurable number of families who are financially able moved to other school districts, thousands remained engulfed in lives submerged in hopelessness, and acceptance that nothing will change. Lives inherited, not chosen. And then, for the first time in decades, a ray of light and hope shined brightly over our city. LeBron James makes a promise to the children and families of his hometown, and the I Promise program is born. The mission was set up to take on the children who, after 3 years in the Akron school system, were identified as those struggling the most and destined to drop out of school. In true LeBron form, bring on the greatest challenges. The program offered more than hope to its children in the classroom. It reached out to families offering emotional support to those who were struggling to bring structure and stability into their lives. It began with building confidence in those who had given up and felt they too were only destined to fail, with several parents getting their GEDs, job training, and financial counseling. Officials from several cities across the nation and representatives from the United Nations have come to Akron, Ohio, to visit the I Promise School and learn about its mission, all wanting to create the same atmosphere of hope and enthusiasm in their schools. They, too, fully aware of the challenge involved in change and the setbacks facing a new endeavor. We are pioneers. Knowing it is the school board's responsibility to determine needs and priorities of the school system, I do not believe that I am being presumptuous when I assume you have personally visited all of the APS campuses. Let me say in closing, as Harriet Beecher Stowe once wrote, "Never give up, for that is just the place and time the tide will turn." And I ask that you not give up on these families, these children, and all of the children of the city of Akron. Thank you.
Douglas Wirtz.
Thank you very much. I never expected to be within an audience like this today. I'm only coming because we had a conversation a week and a half ago or so. I am founder of Akron Cooperative Farms. Akron Cooperative Farms came together because there was a need for connection. The connection within the refugee community where language was an issue, but land was not. And because of that, we received a gift from Almighty God, and we have been working that out, living that out for 5 years. We've developed a relationship with North High School, with Mark Nicolino in his class, and Mark Nicolino didn't have a program. But he created a program, and there was a summer program this summer that was significant. And the things that we are doing within this space, where we have 140 gardeners, these gardeners are come from their own land, where they're connected to the land. They have a purpose, and there's a means and a way for educating people in new ways. And we got to look at the options. I think there's from what I hear right now, there's some need for reflection. There's some need for let's look at how we can do things a little bit differently now. Let's create something new. Let's build something new. Let's build relevance to our education. Let's get people out into nature where they can observe learning in the real world, where it doesn't happen within the four walls. So I think there's options out there, but I think also that we have an opportunity. I love Akron. I love the fact that LeBron James is from Akron and he wants to make a difference in Akron. I believe together we can do something that's going to be different for all of us, but it takes something from each one of you. It takes something from each one of you. So leaving here, we don't want to have negativity. Over here, we want to have something, a reflection, a thought about how we can build upon this and build, make something better for all of us, because that's who we are. We can be better. We can grow. We can build. And I have one little thing that I just wanted to say. As we surround ourselves with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers, let's build this vision together.
Thank you. So that concludes our public comment period. As recall, the board has a policy. We do not comment on any one person's comments. I do want to, though, make a generalized comment.
I apologize for interrupting. I have a letter that says I'm speaking tonight.
So again, we have about 20 people that are on the list. And, Mr. Heresy?
I signed up 3 weeks ago. I was the first one on the agenda.
I know you did, sir. But you spoke last time as well. So, right. So our time is up for public comment. If you'd like to come back at the next board meeting, we'd be happy to give you time.
Will I be on it?
Sure. Yep.
Give me your word right now. I can speak next week or the next meeting.
Mr. Heresy, I have no reason
Yes or no?
to want to deprive you of speaking before the board.
You did tonight.
So I didn't deprive you tonight. We have a policy, sir.
I signed up 3 weeks ago. I was the first one on the agenda.
We have 20 people. So, yes, you can speak at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You should be ashamed.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you should resign.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's enough. Thank you, sir.
Roger that.
Thank you. Roger that. Thank you, sir. Again, remember, folks, we have children in the audience. Okay? We have children in the audience, so we have children in the audience. So, yeah, folks, we've already gone beyond the time that we were allotted for tonight. So this board has gone way beyond the policy already, okay? So that's why we have multiple board meetings. So let me just say this. So first, I want to thank the speakers for their time and coming here, for your thoughtful commentary. To the young people that are in the room, this is what we're trying to model what thoughtful discourse looks like. We don't always agree on topics. There can be different perceptions and viewpoints on things, but still, it's important. It's of paramount importance, that we come together and be able to speak with each other in a way that is civil. So I want to appreciate the speakers for that. Secondly, as a generalized comment, since we have this audience, with respect, I would like to ask each of you, in your spare time, again, I know we all have busy schedules and lives. I would like to ask you to go back and watch the board meetings when we talked about the I Promise School, because, there's been this narrative out there that this board is seeking to bully, belittle, undermine our kids. And if you listen to anything any quote that I've made in the paper, if you go back and you actually watch the board meeting, nobody on this board, no speaker or presenter, made any comments that any rational person would call belittling, bullying, or anything of that nature. So I would ask you, please go back and watch the board meeting, because there's a distinction between what the board says and how folks take what we say and craft their own self-serving narratives. And so again, with respect. So the other thing I'll say is, the community has asked for a great deal of transparency with regard to all of our schools, which is why we're having these kinds of conversations. And my hope is that when we have these conversations with other schools, that we have a similar passionate turnout of folks who want to support our schools, because this board is not seeking to target the I Promise School. This is just the first of a series of conversations we're having about all of our schools, and has already been rightfully pointed out, a number of our schools are struggling. It's not just one school in particular, which is why we're beginning this series of being more transparent, of being more transparent with the community about how our schools are doing, what the areas of opportunity are. At day's end, the goals of all of this is to optimize performance in our buildings. So that's the goal. So, and also to evaluate our model. Where does it need tweaked? I'll give you an example. The I Promise School last year speaking of model tweaks, last year we started to limit the number of children with IEPs that could attend the I Promise School. I would venture to guess that most of the people in that school are grateful that that was a tweak that we made. So there are other ways that we can improve and tweak the model, which is part of what this process is ultimately meant to do. And last but not least, Dr. Campbell, I know you're in the audience, and I'll say this because I think it needs to be said on behalf of this board that I am happy to sit down and speak with you, meet with you, any place, anytime, anywhere of your choosing. So that concludes our comments, and next we're going to move to an uplifting recognition of our STEM High School girls flag football team. So thank you. So I haven't gotten any communications from Dr. Campbell. So, and my emails are public record, ma'am. So you can ask for those emails. So, okay, all right. So let's move on to STEM High School flag football team.
Good evening, passionate football enthusiasts. I'd like to thank our Akron Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Robinson for the invitation to attend this evening's board meeting. My name is Dina Popa, and I'm the campus principal at Akron STEM High School. It is with great honor and enthusiasm that we gather here today to celebrate and recognize the remarkable efforts, dedication, and achievements of an elite group of young women who trailblazed the first Akron Public Schools girls flag football team. In a realm where victories for women are earned through sweat, sacrifice, and sheer determination, our champion team has emerged as a guiding light for other young women across the city of Akron. Supporting them every step of the way on this inspirational journey was the Cleveland Browns organization, a proud, long-standing partner for Akron schools. Also with us tonight is a championship caliber football coaching team: Shane Dance, Sarah Leffler, and Marvin Grandison. Each one of these coaches has redefined what it means to be a traditional football player. Their unwavering dedication and unrelenting pursuit of excellence for women in athletics has carved an indelible mark in women's football history for Akron schools, and specifically STEM High School. Please welcome Shane Dance and his team to share with you their journey over the past year.
So I first wanted to thank you for inviting our team to tonight's board meeting. Before we begin, I would like to invite the young ladies to stand up and introduce themselves, please, starting with Hyla.
My name is Hyla Meekins. I'm a senior and I go to Akron Early College. All right. My name is Casala Robert and I'm a senior at Akron Early College.
My name is Nono Thu, and I'm a senior at STEM High School.
I'm Nevaeh Blair, and I'm a sophomore at STEM High School.
I'm Nia Clark, and I'm a senior at STEM High School.
I would also like to thank the assistant coaches, STEM school counselor Marvin Grandison, and our history teacher Sarah Leffler as well. Unfortunately, Hannah Lee, who is our support liaison from the Cleveland Browns, got stuck in Cleveland and she was not able to come with us today, but she is very interested and would like to see what she can do to help bring more flag football to Akron Public Schools. So how we got started, somebody shared with me an article on social media about girls flag football expanding in other places, and I started doing some research and looking for opportunities that our students could take advantage of here at STEM, which led me to Northeast Ohio Flag, which was a league supported by the Cleveland Browns organization. It seemed like a perfect fit, and I reached out to Hannah and found her contact to begin the process of bringing girls flag here to Akron Public Schools. Oops. So because we're a specialty school, we're not participating in OHSAA events, which allows us to have girls play on both from STEM and early college and not jeopardize their eligibility at other places if they do other sports in APS. So this club felt like a perfect fit for both STEM and APS, and it's comprised of a diverse group of young ladies from both schools. The club was funded by several amazing partners, including Akron Public Schools through the Expanded Learning Department and the Cleveland Browns organization. The Browns provided us 25 sets of uniforms, some basic equipment to get started, held a free skills camp for any girl who was interested, a coach's clinic, as well as providing organization structure to the league. During this last season, which was our inaugural season, we ended up with 27 different girls coming out at some point for flag football, letting us have both a full varsity and JV team as well. Our participation was among the highest of the teams in the league, which was pretty cool considering we were probably by far the smallest enrollment-wise compared to schools like Mentor and some of the bigger Cleveland suburban schools. So the league is in its second year, but we are a first-year participating school. Our season consisted of an 8-game schedule against teams from Cuyahoga, Geauga, and Lake County, as we were the only team in Summit County this last season. The JV team hosted a 4-game schedule. So during our inaugural season, our first victory came in a game where we intercepted a pass late in the game and ended up scoring a touchdown on the last play of the game to win against East Cleveland Shaw. And then in the playoffs, we actually won our opening round of the playoffs with the last play of the game. We got a goal line stand and defended a pass against Villa Angela St. Joseph in the playoff before losing the next game, which was a tough, hard-fought game to the eventual league champions. Despite our record, anyone watching our team could really see the growth of the girls, the vast improvement they made every week through collaboration, grit, and problem solving. All the skills we harp on and really push hard at STEM and at Akron Early College were evident in our team. So in the postseason, we were selected to represent the Cleveland Browns at the inaugural NFL All-32 flag tournament that was held in Washington, D.C. Again, we were supported by Akron Public Schools, the Cleveland Browns organization, the NFL, and its tournament partner, RCX Sports. We traveled via a charter bus, participated in a pre-team tournament event, or a pre-tournament team event at Topgolf in Washington, D.C., ended up on an impromptu video shoot with NFL Films, if any of you are familiar with them. Competed in 3 games over the course of 2 days. Got to see various sites in D.C., did a professional photo shoot, and wrapped up the weekend with a mentor discussion with Lois Cook from the Women's Football Alliance, who is a pro football athlete. So this experience for our young women reinforced our STEM school norms of mutual respect, high expectations, as it built friendships, strengthened our diverse after-school opportunities, and created memories for the girls that will last a lifetime. So as we move into the 2023-2024 school year, as we began the program, I had a vision that it was more than just for that team and that season. We want to continue to let the program grow. I also had a vision of building a diverse opportunity an opportunity for the diverse female population here in Akron. Right now, we are the only team in Summit County. We would like to increase our impact at STEM and Akron Early College while seeing girls flag grow to other schools in Akron Public Schools and the rest of the district. Sports and extracurricular activities are proven to increase academic achievements and mental well-being for students, but sports for girls have been shown and proven to increase participation and credit attainment in male-dominated STEM fields and increase their emotional well-being compared to non-sport academic extracurriculars. Although the district currently offers many girls' sports programs, flag football offers a new opportunity to increase equity in APS and start establishing programs before flag football is eventually adopted by the OHSAA as a full-time varsity sport. The Browns are currently looking to expand the league to include more teams from the Akron area, but also adding Canton, Youngstown, and Columbus teams as well in the next season. So thank you for your time to celebrate our young Trailblazers.
Okay, we'd like to welcome up the Akron STEM football team. Come on up to the podium, please. Associates, come on up too.
There was other class. Thank you all for coming on. Yes, sir.
Touchdown. Yeah.
Hey, Jay-Lane, how you doing? Good.
My personal notes on here. All right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Next, we're going to move to item 4.1, approval of the previous meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from 8:14 and 8:22?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Jackson and seconded by, wait. Okay, it's been moved by Vice President Autry and seconded by Mr. Perry. Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mrs. McKittrick.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes, abstain from special meeting. That wasn't present. Thank you.
Got you. Mrs. Autry.
Yes.
Dr. Hall.
Aye.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we'll move to personnel recommendations, items 5 through 16. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Hall. I wanted to make a note that Mr. Michael Householder will be retiring June 28th, 2024, and also notations of the job description for the Executive Director for Labor Relations. I wish to recommend approval of the personnel recommendations presented in categories 5 through 16.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
been moved by Mr. Alexander. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. McKittrick. Is there any discussion?
Just comment. Yes, I just wanted to comment also on Dr. Householder. He was a very good teacher for a long year for Akron Public Schools, part of the International Baccalaureate program at Firestone High School. He will be missed by those students. There are a lot of students who had him in the past who are very appreciative and still talk about him to this day. So we want to wish him well when he is done with Akron Public Schools, and he will be missed. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please. Dr. Thompson. I'm sorry, Dr. Robinson. Excuse me, Dr. Thompson.
And who put that motion forward?
That was.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mrs. Autry.
Yes.
Dr. Hall.
Aye.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we move to approval of resolutions and motions in the consent agenda. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. I wish to recommend approval of the resolutions and motions presented in Category 21. They are in proper format, and I move for their approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Autry. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mrs. Autry.
Yes.
Dr. Hall.
Aye.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we move to item 23, Business Affairs Recommendations. Dr. Robinson.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hall. I wish to recommend approval of the business affairs recommendations presented in Category 23.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the business affairs recommendations?
So moved.
It's moved by Ms. McKittrick. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? Vice President Autry.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on item 23.7, I just thought it was important to notate that this is as a result of our LTOP vote recently, and I was just requesting if Dr. Thompson could just briefly explain that item and how it relates to our recent LTOP vote.
Correct. So that document is what begins the process of us obtaining the funds necessary for the Kenmore build. So it is certainly not the total dollar amount on the COP certificates of participation, but it is the lion's share of that funding mechanism. So what you will see, though, is initial documents that we looked at, additional budgeting, had that particular dollar amount at $33 million. And that, what you see on your paper in front of you today, actually reflects $40 million and not $33 million. So why the additional increase? If you recall, as we budgeted for the LFI funds, the local funded initiatives, which is the fund that was jointly held by the city of Akron and by APS, actually has $16.4 million in it, not $15 million, which is good. However, the city has requested that, and they have as much right to those funds as we do, that those dollars be split equally between the city and the school district. So they want to use their piece, my understanding is for debt retirement of buildings. So it does go to the overall project, but in a different route. So what that creates is a higher, of course, capital outlay for us moving forward. We do have enough reductions in expenditures to offset that. So I still think we're fairly budget neutral, but that is what you see in that document and why you see what you see in that document.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Autry?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we'll move to Superintendent's report. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, Dr. Hall. I just wanted to ask if we could just take a couple of seconds to, in a moment of silence, for our scholar who passed away at East CLC on Tuesday, August 15th. I'm also asking that we would keep in thought one of our scholars at Helen Arnold and also one of our scholars at Robinson CLC. So if we can just take just a couple of seconds to just think about them and reflect and think about those families. Thank you. I want to acknowledge the phenomenal work of our Student Support Services team, in particularly Ms. Sykes and Dr. Lash and that team who did an outstanding job at the backpack adventure at the zoo. It was extremely phenomenal, and certainly looking forward to many more experiences at the zoo. And that was on August 15th and 16th. And so we're just going to take it to an even different level next year, to a higher level. And so I want to commend the work that was done there. Thanking again for Dr. Chapman and the entire team, because it was surely a team. Mark and so many others, our technology team, and just a host of our senior leadership that took part in the convocation that was held. And I want to thank them so much for the work that they did. It has been one of, in my experiences, one of the best opening of schools that I have experienced in my career as an educator. And so that would not have happened if it had not been for our senior leadership team and all the work that they've done. That would not have happened if it had not been for our principals and our teachers, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, our custodians, our secretaries, and just so many others who made this a huge success. It really was a phenomenal opening to the school year. Mr. Don and with security and just in our city for supporting us and working with us. We are going to bring back Be Kind 330. And for the past few years, there has been a grassroots campaign happening across the district called Be Kind 330. The message is simple: encourage kindness, give kindness, be kind. I will share information with you about Be Kind 330 in my report at each board meeting, as I want to share the impacts of this campaign. I want to see the kindness that is spreading across the district. I'm kindly requesting submissions of acts of kindness so we can continue to celebrate and share heartwarming stories of compassion and generosity. Your stories can inspire others to spread positivity and make the world a much better place to live. Anyone can share acts of kindness they witness or participate in with our APS communications team through Mr. Mark. And then we'll post it on the Be Kind 330 website, on our social media, or I may be highlighting it at a future board meeting. I want to also thank the team for the work that was done this weekend in the Pride celebration. Akron Public Schools stood out amongst the rest. And so I want to thank the entire team who helped to make that a huge success, Mr. Keith and Dr. Chapman and that entire team, because it was teachers, principals that are a part of that and came out and helped to make Akron Public Schools shine. Thanking the ESC today. I had an opportunity to meet with them. They welcomed me to Akron, and I look forward to working with them. Also had a meeting today with the Hewlett Foundation, who has supported much of the work that we've done right here in Akron Public Schools, and wanted to thank them as well. That does conclude my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. I'm sorry, Dr. Robinson. They seem to be confusing.
We'll get these doctors, the names are correct. We'll get them together.
They're interchangeable, right? Any questions? Okay. All right, next we'll move to President's Report. I'll keep my comments brief. I mentioned that I was in North High School the other day and had the chance to have a conversation regarding the topic of class dues, senior dues. And I didn't realize how much we're asking our students to pay for senior dues, and I also did not realize that we were asking those students to bear the burden of covering the costs of the venues in which they graduate. So this board, as you recall, during COVID, we were covering those fees and dues. And so, but apparently that's expired. And so what I've asked, Vice President Autry and Dr. Robinson and myself had a conversation about this. And so, he's going to do some work around understanding what the current state is since the expiration of this board doing it. But you can probably expect as a board that we'll probably be back before this board in a couple of weeks. There'll probably be some sort of presentation and ask around and discussion around should we continue to cover or should we resume covering the costs of senior dues and covering the costs of graduation venues, and so that's coming in the coming weeks. Again, at North High School, it's $175 per student. And when I asked the question if a student is not able to cover the cost, there's just things that they have to go without. And so, I'm reticent to ask our kids to bear that kind of financial burden. So again, I know that we were covering them before during COVID, and so pending the superintendent's results and survey results and his recommendations, we'll come back and have a conversation about that here in several weeks. So, and that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions anybody has. Mr. Perry, did you want to comment?
Well, I was just thinking, I wish we could approve that right now. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. You're going to do a report, you said, about how much it's costing and how many, students can't afford that? Is that what we're going to be looking at?
So the spreadsheet is going to go out tomorrow to the high school principals for them to give us that information of what it would cost per scholar in their buildings, so that we could look at and how much it's costing for the venues, for graduation, depending upon where they may be having these. So we should have that information within a day or two at the latest from each of the principals, so that we can actually look at it and assess to determine how much it would cost the board, depending upon what the board is wanting to cover. We would be able to tell you the precise amounts.
I'm just not going to stand for a student not being able to go graduate because they can't afford, that 170. That's a lot of money for some. It's just real. So I hope we can have that report and make that pretty easy decision for us.
So
that. So I think I can imagine how that's going to go in a few weeks, and so looking forward to having that follow up. Any other questions? Okay, next we'll move to Treasurer's Report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Dr. Hall, and I'll be brief. As I indicated at our last meeting, what you have are 2 monthly financial reports, both June and July, and on the back of those reports reflects our reconciliation of all of our funds. And what that allows us to do as a board and as an administration is closely follow our cash reserves and compare that to the 5-year forecast so that we can make smart decisions moving forward in the school year and know where we stand as it relates to what we projected where we would be at the end of the year. And I think that's also important as the Treasurer's Department and the district as a whole is working on a strategic plan, and the Treasurer's Department is working on our own specific goals for our department, and one of those is to maintain at least 2 months of cash reserve on hand, unencumbered cash reserves on hand at all times, which is approximately $60 million. So that really serves as a trigger for the board, knowing how to move forward in terms of levies, et cetera, et cetera. So at this point, we're in good shape, and I did mention how our COPS deal was expanded, and I wanted to give you a look at our projections for our investments. So a lot of people are probably unaware we don't leave $100+ million just sitting in an account. So we invest those dollars, some of those in more long-term accounts, which are 4 investment areas, and some of it in short-term, a much lower dollar amount in short-term, like various banks where we broker the best interest rate that we can hopefully find. So what you see on that graph that I just handed out to you is what we are projecting to earn from our investments. So again, using our money wisely, using the taxpayers' money smartly, and you can see over the 5-year forecast, we're expecting to earn and be able to build into our 5-year forecast $8.2 million extra dollars as a result of investing wisely. And of course, markets are favorable right now. So I just wanted you to have that information so you could sort of see the picture holistically and be able to have those reports that you need as a board to monitor the funds and overall 5-year forecast.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Are there any questions? Mr. Alexander?
You said there were 2 sheets on the backside or what?
This is actually attached in the board agenda, and what you see on the first several pages are just detailing where we stand financially, and then the back page, the last page, is the bank reconciliation, and it gives you the dollar amount in the bottom right-hand corner. So you can follow cash reserves, and you can say, well, for example, we project $100 million in cash reserves at the end of the fiscal year. If we're sitting at $90 million 2 months before the fiscal year ends, that certainly tells you something, right? So.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then just one comment, just to kind of translate it in layman's terms, $60 million is essentially 5 pay periods for us, because approximately a pay period is about $12 million.
$60 million covers us for 2 months of operational funds. We spend about $30 million a month to run our school district. It's an expensive endeavor.
Yes.
So it's not a lot. Actually, the state of Ohio recommends 3 months of cash reserves, unencumbered cash reserves, but that would be, at this point, too daunting for us to hit that goal with any consistency.
Crawl before you walk. Okay. All right. Any additional questions? Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Next, we move to committee reports. Legal, policy, and contracts. Dr. Marnar.
Yes, we met last Monday, and during the legal committee, we actually also received the child nutrition report, our annual report. We had public discussion on policy 1540, and we also reviewed mostly a series of Neola updates because a lot of our policies did not need a lot of updating. So policy 5460, graduation requirements, it was just some information on state-imposed changes. Policy 2114, meeting state performance indicators, talked about our website communication. We are now on a STAR system. Policy 2271, College Credit Plus, it was mostly grammatical. We replaced his/her language with inclusive student. Policy 6325, procurement, once again, grammatical. And then we had a discussion on policy 5610. We started with Neola updates, but as a district, we've had a lot of discussion on the relationship between equity, support services, restorative practices, measuring competency, and so we look forward to continued discussion and further reading of this policy to proactively adapt to the shifts in educational paradigms and our student needs.
Thank you, Dr. Marnar. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, next we'll move to finance. Vice President Autry.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Finance and Capital Management Committee did meet last week, and I just want to say again, thank you to Dr. Thompson. I think it's really helpful. His background as a superintendent, as an athletic director, as a teacher, principal, gives us a lot of good perspective on understanding school finance. And so I did ask that he just kind of use these committees as a learning opportunity for anybody who chooses to attend, because it's just not what you really expect it to be on this side of the table. I know I had my thoughts before being a board member, and I just continue to learn every day. So one of the things we talked about, kind of piggybacking on that, are those questions that we get sometimes from folks who say, well, you know, why do you need money? Why do you need a levy all the time? Aren't we balancing our budget appropriately? And it's not a matter of that. It's basically how we are funded. Our federal and state dollars don't always help cover when we start to operate in a deficit. So we rely heavily on property taxes, as we hear time and time again. But essentially, it's House Bill 920 that was established in 1976 that kind of has us in this rut, per se, in terms of always having to come to the community to fund the school district. And on average, that happens every 4.5 years. And so this district has not asked for a levy in 13 years. And so I think that is worth noting and remembering and sharing with folks when the time comes that we're going to have to ask for support from everybody to wrap their hands around this district and our children and our public school system. And so we discussed that a little bit. We also discussed the newly adopted Ohio budget bill and its implications for us. 11% increase coming to us, which equates to about $70 million. And so that's a good thing that we're anticipating. Also, another implication is that we're going to be required to accept cash options at our sporting events. So that's going to kind of be a challenging venture moving forward. And then also the Ed Choice vouchers. Unfortunately, I think at 450% above the poverty rate is how you become eligible. So again, folks who have never even stepped foot in our building will have the option to get one of these vouchers. And just also noting that, this enrollment is down not only in Akron, but in the entire state. So sometimes we throw that out there, kids are leaving. They're leaving everywhere. And we just don't have as many students, period, in our population. So we have to just be mindful when we're throwing that out, because it is probably applicable across the whole state in terms of the student population. And so the other things that we talked about, Dr. Thompson also touched on already in terms of our investments and the goals of the finance department. And so that concludes my report.
Thank you. Just a quick comment, Ms. Autry. To your point at the very end there, I wanted to just echo that that we have seen population growth in Ohio. It's why we continue to lose congressional seats, which is a direct measure of your population. So, especially Northeast Ohio. So when we talk about kids leaving the district and lower enrollments, that's also a function of continued decrease in population in states like Ohio. So like anything, there are multiple reasons why something occurs, and so I thank you for calling that out, Ms. Autry. Are there any additional questions or comments for Ms. Autry? Hearing and seeing none, we'll next move to instructional policy.
No policy, but we'll have an update from our last meeting, next meeting.
Roger that. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Equity.
No report. Our next meeting is Tuesday, September 5th at 5:30.
Thank you, Ms. McKittrick. Next, we'll move to unfinished business. There is none. Next, we'll go to new business. Does anybody have any new business that they'd like to propose? Hearing, seeing none. I do believe that we can adjourn our meeting, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The third day.
So we have a motion from Mr. Perry. We have a second from Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? No. Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mrs. Autry.
Yes.
Dr. Hall.
Gonna wait 5 seconds.
Aye.
And Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we stand in adjournment at 7:30 this evening. Have a good night, folks.